is Shawna Martinez with Performance Team, and today we're talking about the as-is clause in the contract. What does it mean? So we get asked this a lot, not only from the seller side, but also from the buyer side. So if I'm on a listing appointment with the seller, I'm going through and this is one of the things I talk to them about is we're gonna see a contract 99% of the time come across and say as is. But that doesn't mean they can't ask for repairs. Now, not saying that buyers shouldn't be asking for a lot of repairs right now because they shouldn't, but it doesn't mean they're buying the house as is. It just means they're not asking for any repairs up front. So let me explain what I mean. So let's say they walk in your house and they decided that you have a black door and they don't want a black door. They want it painted red and they want you to do it. Then instead of it being checked as is, they would put the second checkbox on the contract that says as is with these following conditions that the seller is going to perform prior to closing, which is going to paint the door red. Same thing with like if there's a private remark in the MLS or there's some information on the MLS sheet that says they're going to do something prior to closing, like replace the roof, put in new carpet, windows, those kinds of things. You want to make sure you check that box too, because even though the MLS states that they said they're going to do it, everybody knows that you're only legally bound by what's in the contract. So if they say they're gonna do items to the house before closing, make sure you check that box number 2, which again is your agent's responsibility, but just make sure you have that in the back of your mind that as is does not mean as is. On the buy side, so on the sell side, just know that most of the contracts that come across are gonna say as is because nobody's asking for upfront repairs. That doesn't mean the buyer doesn't have the opportunity to have an inspection should they negotiate the option period and ask for repairs. So the other day we had a listing, we got it in contract, went in multiple offers, of course, and the buyer had an inspection, no big deal. And they came up with a hefty list of repair request and a credit request and all kinds of different things. And one of the repair request items they had in there, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that screens on the windows. There was a couple of screens missing off the windows and they had put in the repair request that they wanted those screens replaced. My thought process, and I understand I'm different than everybody runs their businesses differently, but this is my thought process. If I have a listing and a buyer comes in and it's something they can see with their own eye and it's something that is very noticeable and it doesn't take an inspection report, meaning not behind walls, not up in an attic, but if you can walk through a house and see, oh, these are missing screens, the time to ask for those items, especially right now in this market, is on the front side. I kind of feel like it's a little shady. I know I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this, by the way, but I feel like it's a little shady if agents are telling their clients this, please stop. But I feel like it's a little shady if people see it on the front side, they mention it to their agent and they say, oh, we'll just ask for that with the repairs. That's not what that's for. If it's something you can see with your eye when you're walking through a house as a buyer, it should be on the contract on the front side. Because I can tell you this, we were not going to say that we were going to replace those screens because you already saw that when you put in your offer well over asking on our listing. You took that in consideration. The other thing that they asked for, and we see this sometimes, is paint. They were asking for a painting allowance. Again, that should not be asked for on a repair request because paint did not come back on that inspection report. I didn't see their inspection report, I didn't ask for it, but I've never seen paint on the inspection report. It's something that you saw with your eye when you walked the house, you knew it was painted that color or that the paint was chipped or whatever the situation is, you should be asking for that on the front side. So on the sale side, as the seller, you see a contract come across saying as is, that just basically means, long story short, they're not asking for anything up front for you to do. They're waiting for the inspection report to come back to request those repairs, should they request any at all. On the buy side, when you're putting in an offer and you're putting as is, that does not mean that you cannot ask for repairs. It just means that you're not asking for anything up front. So again, as is does not mean as is.